All right, before we get to the main body of this show, I just want to take a moment to mention the passing of New York Post sports writer Larry Brooks. Passed away at 75 after a tough battle with cancer. Obviously, Larry spent several of the last few decades covering the Rangers for the New York Post, one of the most well-renowned writers in the game. Obviously, some hockey fans will know him from all of his clashes with former Rangers coach John Tortorella, but he was much more than that. He wrote for the Rangers for a good long time, and there's a reason he was there. He was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2018. And again, somebody so well known around the game and for the most part, very well beloved guy. And just another reason we all say fuck cancer all the time, because it's just a nasty fucking disease and it takes no prisoners. And it's too bad that, again, somebody who would have been able to live a good long life gets his life cut short. And again, Larry did live to be 75, but obviously without this stupid ass cancer could have lived many more years and continued to cover the team he loves. So rest in peace, Larry. Our thoughts are, of course, with his family as well. And again, I just felt like we'd be remiss if we did not at least mention him on this show. Now we're going to take a hard left turn and jump right into the meat of this show because, it's good. We're going to take a golden opportunity here is what we're doing. Really. We haven't talked about the Maple Leafs this season because I've really wanted to see what kind of sample size they were going to give us out of the gate, but we've played as almost a quarter of the regular season already, which is nuts to me. But the Leafs, man, look, it's the biggest market in the league. A lot of eyes are on this team, especially after the Marner trade in the offseason. But the Leafs at almost the quarter mile mark here are not looking good. They're certainly not looking like the Leafs of last year, where last year you couldn't get away from seeing this team in their night after night, the highlight reel plays and goals they'd have. And this season it couldn't be anything further from that. They're struggling to get saves. They can't really score as well. They can't fucking win on the road to save their lives. They're now losers of 5 in a row after their most recent loss to Chicago. They're battling the injury bug. Just nothing is going right for them. Matthews, and again, it's weird to say this, to call somebody bad, but Matthews is having a bad season by his measure. I mean, a guy of his skill easily can be over a point a game. And not that he can't reel the line back in and get there, but it just seems like nothing is going right for Toronto this year. And I can't believe how hard they've struggled to find an identity without Mitch Marner.
Yeah, and I want to preface this by saying, they do have, like you mentioned, they're being hit hard by the injury bug, but I want to preface that by saying, they weren't good before the injuries, but it is worth noting that right now on IR, and these guys are all day to day, but you've got Austin Matthews, Scott Lawton, Brandon Carlo, Anthony Stolarz, and Chris Tanev. And I mean, your two big D guys, Brandon Carlo and Chris Tanev. I mean, that's a big blow to the team. And so, granted, they were struggling before this. My other concern right now is, in the previous episodes of this show for this season, we're saying, it's still early in the season. It's too early to tell. We're pretty much at the point now where you've got a good feel for everything, and teams should be starting to be where they're going to be for the season. And this isn't a good look for Toronto. If I'm a Leafs fan, which I'm very obviously not, but I would be concerned right now, because where is the issue right now?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And the thing is, too, and again, like I said, I love opportunities to dump on teams like this because it's the biggest market. If anybody can handle it, they can. But you mentioned it now where we're at in the season. We always talk about, oh, this guy looks like he's in mid-season form or whatever. But we're going to start getting to that mid-season period of the season. And again, we now are seeing what these teams are going to look like. And you're starting to see more and more who's really the haves and the have-nots. And there are still some teams that could break that mold later in the season. We see it every couple of years. A team that's terrible the first half of the year has a resurgence in the second half and is able to make a push for the playoffs or even get into the playoffs. And so not that, and if any team's capable of going on a run like that, Toronto, I would certainly say, is at the top of that list, but they've really dug themselves a nasty hole. And much in the same way the Rangers can't really win at home, the Leafs can't seem to find anything to go their way on the road. And I know they recently had a 3-game win streak, but then 2 matchups in over a 3-game span with the Bruins really helped derail that. And then now they find themselves tied with Washington for second last in the conference, which is crazy. I cannot believe that Washington is last in their division. But again, the Metro is just kind of seems like it's kind of disorganized right now. I mean, New Jersey and Carolina are as good as we'd expect, and we'll talk about the Jack Hughes injury in a little bit because that's still crazy. And again, the Canes are as good as we'd expect, but the Penguins, I think, are doing better than pretty much everybody would have guessed. The Islanders have really started to find a groove now, which I can't believe. And Schaefer's just looking better and better by the day. The Rangers even finally won a fucking home game. Like that division is just so chaotic. But to come back to the Leafs, again, it's a team that's capable of going on a run here and stealing one of these spots back. I still truly believe they're better. They're as good or better than Tampa Bay, which is, again, with the results they have right now, it's hard to believe. I still believe they're as good or better than Detroit and Ottawa as well. Montreal, I'm kind of cautious to say that because every bad thing I've said about the Habs has come back to be false so far, so I'll just leave that. And then the Bruins, too. I can't believe how much they've turned it on in the last couple of weeks. But I think Toronto is capable of coming back from this, but they have to find an identity. I mean, they are and I'm not saying it's because of Marner, but they look lost without him out there. It seems like they can't find the right match for the Matthews line now, and that has a ripple effect throughout the lineup. It seems like Nylander's scoring really well, as you'd expect. Tavares, again, a guy Toronto through and through. He's showing up to play every night. But outside of that, there is not really much to like about this team with the way that they look and the way that they're playing right now.
No, and the two things I want to touch on. One is the Marner thing. I thought that was not only going to be a good thing for Marner getting out there, but I honestly thought it was going to be good for Toronto too. I think that I was under the impression that relationship had just reached a level of toxicity where it was just better for both parties at this point. And it's proven to be the opposite. At least, I mean, Marner's probably loving life in Vegas right now, but I mean, for Toronto, it's just not working out well. And what has me concerned is this is the team that just got done taking the Florida Panthers, who are the defending Cup champions, 7 games in the second round of last year's playoffs. And the Leafs were hands down the best team that the Panthers faced throughout those playoffs. And they don't look like it at all right now. And it's very concerning. Like you said, they have to find an identity right now. This does not. You look at this team on paper and you're like, holy shit, this team is stacked. And then you watch them and you're like, what the hell is this? I mean, it looks like AHL hockey at best.
Yeah, it definitely is very lackluster, which again, I think anybody in their right mind would expect the Leafs to, have a little bit of a fallback without Marner. Again, that I talked about that ripple effect it has on the lineup when you lose somebody like that. And it does kind of, it makes things different. I would have never guessed that they'd have a start this bad. And again, they're one of few teams in the league that I think could really correct this before too long and get right back in the hunt. And then all of a sudden it's not a story anymore. But again, when it's a market this big with so many eyes on it, it seems like it's easier to notice when they're struggling like this. Kind of in the same way with Montreal. Again, another one of the biggest markets in the league too. And it's another team where every result they have seems to be amplified because of the size of the market. Montreal, the difference in Montreal, even though they have lost 3 in a row now, is that their changes have been for the good. And so it's more of like, oh, this is a pleasant surprise. It's a nice thing. It's kind of like it's kind of like a thought that's to the side. Like you're just like observing like, oh, this is going well for them. Good for them. Whereas with Toronto, you're like, oh my God, I cannot possibly believe how bad this is. And it's like the main thing you focus on. Like, I can't believe this team is this bad. And again, they're only a point behind the Panthers, but I refuse to dog on the Panthers right now until they're fully healthy, given the players that they're missing. I expect the Panthers are going to have to scratch and claw. That was not a pun on purpose. That was just there was no pun intended there. But they are going to have to scratch and claw their way to a playoff spot. Missing your captain, your best center, missing one of your top scorers for a good chunk of the year. Like they're going to have to really battle to get that playoff spot, but I ultimately think they can get there. And you know what? Even if they don't, they just came off of 3 finals appearances in a row with 2 wins in a row. I think they'll be okay. Even if they miss this year, they'd be surely a favorite again next year with everybody healthy. But the Leafs, this will be really fascinating to see where they go from here. I don't think the coaching is the issue there too. I think Berube is a great coach. I just think the team needs to either get the message or figure something out. But the chemistry looks lacking for them. Obviously the results on the stat sheets are lacking for them. So it'll be very fascinating to see how the next, they've played almost 20 games. It'll be interesting to see how the next 20 go after this now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's the coaching. I think Craig Berube is a great coach. I think he's exactly the coach that Toronto needs. So there's something else going on here, and obviously it's not something we're going to be able to pinpoint. Obviously, the injuries aren't helping them, but like we mentioned earlier, they were struggling before the injuries. So a lot for them to work on. But I mean, fortunately, we're not early in the season, but we're still early enough in the season where they can right the ship and hopefully come away and steal one of these spots.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So again, luckily for them, it's still so early in the year, so anything can change. But yeah, certainly not the start they want. How's this for not wanting something? The Devils, Jack Hughes, after a freak accident at a team dinner, is going to miss roughly the next 6 to 8 weeks. It looks like cut his hand at a team dinner, and for a guy that's battled the injury bug on the ice, and for a Devils team that's as hot as they are right now, losing your best player like this has to be crushing. But for the Devils, they're fortunately a very deep team. I think they can overcome this, but it sucks because it seemed like the chemistry was there. And I said this at the start of the season. I really think Jersey is one of the best teams. And right now they are. They're the second best team in the league, and they're the number one team in the Eastern Conference. But losing Jack Hughes for 8 weeks, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, he could miss, 10, 15 games at least. And I mean, that's not that that's insurmountable, but this Devils team, each guy in that room is going to have to step up to maintain the pace they're at right now. They're playing extremely well. They're 7-0-1 at home, and they're 6-4 on the road. I mean, this is a team that structure is going to lend itself to just being insanely good, but losing your number one player. I mean, look at what's happened with the Panthers with Barkov. Losing your number one player can have a devastating effect. And so hopefully Jersey is able to avoid some of that as they continue to try and run things in the Eastern Conference.
I think ultimately, and you kind of said it already. I mean, this team is a complete team anyway. So while it is a huge blow to the team, at the same time, I don't really think this is going to drag them down significantly. And hopefully he can come back sooner than 8 weeks. Obviously, best case scenario. But I think Jersey's good enough right now that this isn't going to affect them too much. I'm hoping we don't see too much of a change, because they are a team that's been fun to watch this year, and they are performing to expectations right now. At least my expectations. So I don't think, I mean, you kind of you go down the list of people that they have that are out right now on injury. You got Dodonov, Cody Glass, Jack Hughes, obviously. Oh, Mark McLaughlin doesn't matter. I mean, there's nobody like the rest of these guys. They're not
Jack Hughes.
Yes, they're not Jack Hughes. They're not these big name number one players on the team. So I don't really think this has a huge impact overall on their performance. And I think we're still going to continue to see the play we've been seeing out of them anyway. It'll just look a little bit maybe lackluster just because you're missing that big name.
Yeah. So we'll see where the Devils go. Again, long term, I don't think it'll be an issue, but for a team that's holding the number one spot in the conference, I do think they will have some troubles holding onto that spot, especially with Carolina breathing down their necks, and Pittsburgh, who again is just having a very surprisingly good season. But Sheloves, that's another situation there. Sheloves has worked out incredibly well for them too. And we'll see where that ends up. But again, for the New Jersey, it's just all about navigating these waters now with Jack Hughes out of the lineup. Another injury that thankfully looks to not be serious was Charlie McAvoy taking a one-timer right to the cheek area against Montreal last night. And scary looking play. I mean, it hit him and he just crumbled. And so that was a very scary situation, but he was able to come home with the team, it sounds like. And excuse me one sec. Sorry, I had to cough there. I did not want to do that in my mic.
Thank you.
Anyways, but yeah, I think everybody's ears are thankful for that too. That was gross. But yeah, McAvoy looks like he's going to avoid a serious injury. So we'll see what happens there. But again, glad was at least able to travel back with the team, and he wasn't just stuck in a hospital out for 4 months or whatever. So we'll see where they go. But now Boston too, that's another team they've 8-2 in their last 10. They've just really turned it on. And again, they're not doing it with any serious flash. It's kind of contributions up and down the lineup. So Bruins another team that's just hoping all the injuries can stay away, because if you're playing this well when you're not expected to play this well, you don't want to change a single thing because you want to keep what's working.
Yeah, I'm with you. And to me, it's like, well, the Bruins are finally back where they belong right now. Obviously, that's my opinion, but it's nice to see. And I was a little nervous when I saw McAvoy take that puck to the face.
That was a
especially
nasty shot.
Yeah. And I mean, he went down like somebody shot him. So I was legitimately concerned. But, the fact that he was able to travel with the team, that's a good sign.
Plus and the tooth, too. I just saw a GIF of the shot on Reddit and took it right to him. Oh, gosh.
Well, now he's got some character to him as well. But I mean, that's not a guy that Boston can afford to lose. I mean, he is. There's a very small group of players on that team that I would consider the heart and soul of that team, and he is absolutely one of them. And that's just not somebody they can afford to lose, especially given the tear they're on right now. They've got to keep the ball rolling. So I'm hoping worst case scenario, he's just back, and maybe, like I said, worst case scenario, he's playing with a fishbowl. So
and another guy that's going to be on the Olympic team, so you hope he's there. Now I'm seeing this though. So everything I saw last night, it said he traveled home with the team and stuff, and it sounded like he was going to be okay. But now I'm reading this that says that he's going to be out for a little while, and a timeline for his return is unclear. So now that makes me wonder. The way I saw things last night made it sound like he was going to get wired up and then play with a bubble on, would have been my guess too. But I mean, for the Bruins, if McAvoy is out long term, that does kind of change things, because now who's behind him in the lineup? It's like Henry, Yoki, Haru, or somebody like that. There's not great support behind him and Lindholm in that lineup. And I'm not a big Zadorov guy either. Like, I don't think he's anything special, but I mean, everybody in that room is going to have to step up that if he's out of the lineup. That's the guy that should probably be the captain of the Bruins. Like, that's your best defenseman. So now reading this, seeing that he may be out a while, that puts a different spin on things 100%. Because my initial thoughts going into this show were like, well, the Bruins are rolling now. If he's going to be okay, that's good. But now reading this, I'm like, maybe not. So we'll have to closely follow the Bruins these next couple weeks. And again, keep an eye on how long they think McAvoy will be out.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got a couple of guys out too that I'm seeing right now that aren't the biggest deal in the world, but can be cause for concern. I mean, they're without Casey Middlestat and Victor Arvidsson and Johnny Beecher right now, so I'm a little like, and John Beecher isn't anything to sneeze at, obviously, but I mean, even still, these are guys you still want on the ice. So, I mean, my biggest concern here, like we said, is McAvoy. So we'll see.
Yep. All right. Hey, real quick, let's take a break. We'll hear from Xenopucks, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some stuff out west before we wrap this show. This is a Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. All right, so let's take things out west now. I want to talk about first this race in the Central Division. Going into this year, obviously we knew the big three, Colorado in the Central, Dallas, Winnipeg. We knew that that's going to be the race, and to this point it is, but it is really turned now into Colorado and Dallas, both winners of their last 5, both 7-1-2 in their last 10. And it seems like we could be looking again at another all-time matchup in the playoffs if these teams stay the course they're on now. Obviously, there's a lot of seasons to go, or a lot of season to go still. Injury can happen, like anything can happen. But again, it does look like we're starting to follow that path of, oh boy, these teams are going to link up in round 2 for another all-time clash. So we'll see. I'd be very excited to watch these two go at it again. I mean, obviously I'd prefer Dallas doesn't win any playoff series, but if it means if they win round 1 and they get to play a Colorado in round 2, I'd be down for that. It was great hockey to watch last year, and yeah, I'm sure it would be this year, but these two continue to just night after night fill out the score sheet. I mean, Colorado's got the best offense in the league by quite a bit, and they're still getting the saves again in the absence of Mackenzie Blackwood. I mean, Colorado actually, if I'm seeing this correctly, I don't think I see a single team that's allowed less goals than them as well. So now I have to sort this Colorado has the best offense currently and the best defense in the league. So, and this is without Mackenzie Blackwood. Scott Wedgwood has been outstanding for them in his absence. So this is a team that's playing without their starter, and they're still, they're close to number 1 in the league right now. Actually, they are number 1 in the league. They're the only team better than New Jersey. They're number 1 in the league right now. 5 wins in a row. They're playing without their starter. They're still lighting it up. They still only lost one game in regulation. They're 12-1-5. I mean, there's just nothing that these guys can't do right now. And damn, do they look scary. And it's exciting to watch because, again, with how good Dallas is playing, it seems like we're due to get that Goliath versus Goliath matchup in round 2.
Which is exactly what we're hoping for. And I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't want Dallas to win anything. But I mean, for different reasons. I just don't like Dallas. You have a legitimate reason not to like Dallas, being a Minnesota fan.
Yeah, they're mean.
But for that reason, though, for that same reason, you should also not like Colorado. But I do like Colorado, and I got to say, man, I love that having Landeskog back. It's just good for the league as a whole. But I mean, both these teams are living up to expectations, and it, like you said, it's just been pure domination. And I mean, that's pretty much how we saw this go when we did our preseason previews. I mean, anything less than this is a letdown at this point. I mean, these teams are fully loaded to go the whole 9 yards. They're just on paper and on ice. They're good teams. So I don't know, man. I think no matter what happens, I'll go as far as say this is a guaranteed second round matchup. No question.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that's too outrageous to stake that claim, but both those are playing really
everybody
well.
Thinks I have all these hot takes and outrageous claims. So just got to make sure.
Sometimes you do. But that's okay. Everybody does. Now, the whole division, that Central Division it is pretty competitive right now. I mean, short of the Blues and the Predators just look dead, and the Blues really are not too far away. I mean, they have the same amount of points in the standings. They are tied. They're tied for second last in the conference. I mean, obviously Calgary's nightmare is the only thing that's worse than what the Preds and the Blues are doing. But you look at the rest of the Central Division. Okay, Chicago is having a much better season than most would have anticipated. Utah's having a really good season, and I know they've struggled a little bit as of late. But again, with how hot that start was, I think, again, if they can address the goaltending, that's a team that I think the sky could be the limit for. Minnesota has turned it on in the last couple of weeks. They've started to play much better hockey. It's still not great. Last night they were 0-7 on the power play against Anaheim, who, by the way, Anaheim took 6 high sticking penalties in that game, which is nuts.
Jesus.
There was some pretty bad ones in there. So they actually talked on the Wild broadcast about the Ducks. I believe are the most penalized team in the league by a lot this year. So something that the Ducks have to work on. But for the Wild, again, they've really started to become more cohesive as a team in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the injury to Marco Rossi is going to be crippling until they get him back. But as a whole, they're still playing pretty well. Jesper Wallstedt has now had back-to-back shutouts. He's been unbelievable for them this year. And now, he's had a chance to play with the big club. He's 4-0-2 now, and he looks like he really could be the future of the Wild in net. Things haven't gone maybe the way Gustafsson wants for them. But again, you look up and down this whole division, and there's competition to be had here. So as good as the big three are, I'm really excited to see who's going to, step up and snag one of those wild card spots. I mean, it looks like Chicago, Minnesota, and Utah all have a very reasonable chance to do this. So this should be a fun division to follow the whole rest of the way here.
Yeah, someone from the Wild must have been listening to our podcast and heard your gripes because they look good this week.
Yeah, since I shit on them, they actually since that episode they've played very well. Which again, as a fan of the team, I couldn't be happier. I'm glad they're finally. I mean, I'm an absolute mess when I watch the games. I swear at my TV, yell, complain as much as I possibly can. So when they're giving me reasons to be happy, I'll take it. But like last night, they won 2-0 against Anaheim, and the second goal was an empty netter. They were 1-0 the whole game and 0-7 on the power play. I was having a fucking cow in my living room screaming at the TV because they couldn't score on Peter Mrazek, which I could not believe. Yeah, I was just livid watching the game. Of course, obviously, I'm thrilled they won, and I'm even more thrilled for Wallstedt that the team stepped up, or not stepped up in front of him. I'm glad he stepped up, and I'm glad the team was able to secure him the win because he earned that win and the shutout. But good Lord, was that a miserable game to watch. I'm just glad they won. But again, as a whole for this division, I'm just like, it's good that 6 of these teams are competitive enough where there will actually be a playoff race in this division. So it'll be fun. It should be fun to watch the rest of the way.
I'm just picturing Mark Mowers walking into that locker room being like, "Hey guys, I got a buddy. He's a big Wild fan. You guys are really pissing him off. Can you step it up a little bit, please? And then that's the story I'm going to use to why they've stepped it up. That Mark Mauers went to bat for you.
Oh, my thought in my head was that Bill Guerin when they went in there and beat the brakes off all 23 of them and then walked out of the room like nothing happened, and then they got the message.
Like Dad just got home from work and he's
he came in there, pulled the belt off, and just whooped everybody's ass. So
yes,
whatever it is, it got them going. And again, losing the injury to Marco Rossi, it sounds like he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, which again, not great to lose your number one center, but for the Wild and their superstar Kirill Kaprizov getting his buddy Zuccarello back. I mean, that's what they needed more than anything. So we'll see if they can correct it, but they still got a lot of ground to make up before I'm even giving them any kind of consideration for being a serious playoff threat. They got a lot of work to do, but this should be a fun division to watch. As is the Pacific too. Let's go over there now. LA, I mean, I shit on their lives all off season. And they're the number one team in their division right now. So the Pacific's kind of soft this year, but I mean, somebody has to win the division. And again, Vegas being as good on paper as they are, being fifth in the division. Now that's a 3-point spread. So it's not as drastic, or it's not as dramatic as it sounds. But again, LA is number one in the division, 7-2-1 in their last 10 winners of 4 in a row. They still can't fucking win at home either, like the Rangers, but they're 9-1-2 on the road. And that's helped kind of propel them to this good record that they have right now. But again, look at Anaheim too. Under Quenneville, they've been very good. I think overall depth is what's going to hurt Anaheim in the long run here. But this looks like a team with the situation in the Pacific Division. I don't see why they can't get into the playoffs either. They look very good.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, and it's long overdue for them too. I mean, we've been watching this team struggle for the last decade. Really,
half decade. I mean, they were good in pretty much the entirety of the 2010s. They really only fell off in like 2018 or 19.
I guess.
I mean, they went to the conference final in 20. They were a game away from the Stanley Cup final in 2015.
Yeah, that's true. You got a good point. But nevertheless,
and they were a couple games away from the final in 2017 when they lost to Nashville.
That's true. But then even still, I mean, you look at the top two teams in the Pacific right now, LA and Anaheim. Okay, LA, I can say for certain we've been watching struggle for the last full decade. I mean,
yeah. they still have not won a single playoff series since they won the Stanley Cup in 2014.
It's because they haven't fucking gone to any. Well, that's not true. Yes, they have. But
they say that they've just dropped 4 in a row to the Oilers in the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, shit or get off the. But that's part of the reason I didn't give them a snowball's chance in hell before the season. Partially because I'm just fucking tired of hearing about them. I'm like, do something, do anything. Yeah. Which I say that as a fan of the Wild, so that's kind of ironic. But still, do something.
Well, and this even goes back to when they won the Cup in 2014 and then missed the playoffs completely the following season. And I want to preface this by saying, like, I know the Panthers are kind of in the same position or in the position to kind of do the same thing, but you look at the different situations where
LA had Kopitar that whole season.
Yeah, I was to say the Panthers are missing very vital parts of their lineup right now, whereas the Kings were a virtually unchanged team and they just missed the playoffs. So shit happens.
That was a wreck.
Yeah, and then they didn't do shit since.
Seattle's another team in that division where I'm kind of surprised to see where they're at. But again, I think the play of the Oilers and the play of Vegas will ramp up enough that that's not going to matter in the long run. I think Edmonton and Vegas will pass Seattle. And with the battle going on in the Central, I think they're probably going to be, I think at best case scenario for the Pacific is they can have a wild card spot, but I still think it's going to be a 5-3 in the Western Conference for the playoff layout. I just don't see, I don't see Seattle making it, and one of LA or Anaheim, I think, will drop out, and I think Edmonton and Vegas will jump back up in there by the end of this. Again, we're talking about a very small point spread. I mean, Vegas has 21 points, but they've played 2 less games than LA, so theoretically they could win both of those games and be first in the division. So we're not talking about an insurmountable task here. So I think the standings in the Pacific are a little skewed, especially when you look at how kind of slow Edmonton's start was. Vegas has been kind of ho-hum the last little bit here. Like, they haven't been great, but again, that's a team where the sky's the limit, Vegas. So not overly worried about them. Obviously losing Stone was a big blow for Vegas, but they'll get him back well before the playoffs, it sounds like. San Jose, another team too, where they could be pretty good, but in that group with Vancouver and Calgary, I just don't think any of those three have a fighting chance here right now.
I don't think so either. I say if one of the teams that you were talking about falling off is going to fall out, I think it's going to be LA. And here's my logic behind it. I think any team that acquires Joe Quenneville to be their coach is destined for success in some way, shape,
I
or
thought you were going to
form.
say desperate. I'm like, Jesus.
No, destined
Okay.
for success. And I mean, obviously his track record in Chicago proves that. But another thing I want to point out, and granted, they did have a fuckload of talent when he took over. And I hate to keep using one of my own teams, but when he took over Florida, they had like a 10-game winning streak to start the season, and they were looking unstoppable.
Oh yeah,
And
they
then,
looked incredible. I don't think that's
yeah,
an unwarranted claim to make. Like it's
yeah,
that's
I,
valid evidence that he's a good coach.
yeah. I mean, I think Anaheim is going to make the playoffs this year, no matter how they get in. I don't see a scenario where they don't make the playoffs this year, and I think a big part of that is going to be because of Joel Quenneville. He's just one of the best coaches to ever coach, and it's just the way it's going to be. I think LA will eventually fall off. I think eventually, I agree with you. I don't think Seattle's going to be able to hold their own. I think it's just a matter of time. Let me rephrase that. It is a matter of time till Vegas turns it on, and Edmonton, they just got to figure it the hell out, man. But once they turn it on, I think you're going to have Vegas and Edmonton in your top two spots at some point.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I'd go as far as to say top two, but they'll be in that top three for sure. I think Vegas still wins this division by a country mile, but I can see Anaheim sticking around. Honestly, even if San Jose can turn it around, again, I talked about the point spread not being that great. San Jose's a little further out, and they don't have the games in hand that a team like Vegas has, but I still think the skills good enough there. And with how well Askarov has looked in some games, I mean, he's looked absolutely brilliant in some of the games he's played this year. So I think that kind of lends itself to give San Jose a chance down the stretch. But again, I just think, not Edmonton. I think Anaheim has gotten out to such a good start. And I think, again, Vegas and the Oilers are so good that I think it's just not going to leave room for San Jose, even if they really heat up the rest of the way. I mean, I feel like it would just take a lot for them to squeeze in.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out with Seattle too, because I know there's people out there that are like, "Well, Seattle's doing good." Well, they're 9-4-5. Okay, at the end of the day, that's still 9-9. That 5 in the OTL column is still a loss, no matter how you look at it. Yeah, you get a point for it, but at the end of the day, you still lost. So they're at 500 right now, as far as I'm concerned, which is a fact. That's nothing to. I mean, anything 500 or above, you would consider. You'd be happy about
in this league above 500. Yeah, I would consider that at least pretty good because this is such a hard league to win in.
But given who's in that division, teams like Vegas and Edmonton, that's not going to cut it at the end of the day. So I just don't feel like that's a team that's going to stick around. I do agree with you that if San Jose can turn things around, there's a possibility that we could see something good out of them too. But like I said, we still got a whole lot of hockey left, man. So it's obviously too early to call, but like we mentioned earlier, we are at that point of the season right now where teams have kind of shown what you can expect from them moving forward.
Yeah, I think so. I think I never want to jump the gun on it, but it does seem like we're to that point now where you can kind of start saying, all right, these guys suck, these guys don't. Like, generally speaking, the Sabres are the only team year after year where you can say they're going to be bad because, well, look at them, they are. But I mean, and maybe this is just low hanging fruit, but they're just that bad every year that I don't even consider them for playoff races when I start breaking down teams to see who I think is going to get in and won't get in. I don't even put them on a list to cross off because it would just be a waste of time. But yeah, with San Jose, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from them. And again, I just think the Central is going to eat up both those wild card spots. But I would be very pleasantly surprised and happy to see San Jose get in. Again, with such a young team, if they're playing this well, playoff experience at a young age like this can pay off dividends further on into these young players' careers when they're really in their primes and they're going to be the best they'll ever be. Like, perfect example is the Oilers. Look how many playoff series that those guys went through in their formative years in this league, McDavid and Draisaitl and the whole crew over there. I mean, that paid off huge for them. Once they finally had a chance to make a deep run, they made 2 in a row. Yeah. And so, I mean, at a young age, getting into the playoffs, some people say, well, this is a building year. Like, it's not a big deal if we don't get in. But while I can kind of agree with that mindset, the other side of me is like, yeah, but that playoff experience is an invaluable thing to have. Even if you're not going to go far, you should still want to get in. First of all, you never know what can happen. I mean, LA won the Stanley Cup as the 16th seed, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And You just never know. So, and even if you don't, getting that experience is paramount for these younger players. It really is. So we'll see what happens. But again, like I said, with the Central, this division will be fascinating to watch. I just think it'll be for a far different reason. Where the Central, it's just three juggernauts and three pretty good teams trying to find those wild card spots after them. In the Pacific, it's who can be the best three, because nothing seems to be guaranteed with these wild card spots. And I say that right now, but actually, if I believe on the in the standings, the Pacific holds both wild cards. But again, with the point spreads where we're at, I don't think that holds long term. And actually, Chicago's the top wild card right now, and Edmonton is the second in the Western Conference. But again,
Yeah.
with these point spreads, I don't think that'll hold for too much longer.
Yeah, I'm with you. But man, dude, how about Chicago?
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with them. I hate it as a fan of a divisional rival, but again, we talked about it before. Spencer Knight's come in there. Him and Jesper Wallstedt are tied for second in the league, 924 save percentage. Logan Thompson, 925. So I mean, we're seeing some pretty elite goaltending for Chicago. I mean, almost league leading goaltending. So definitely stuff to be excited about over there. Again, for them, the biggest thing now that they're in the mix, Chicago, is going to be finding ways to continue to fill out the score sheet. It seems pretty clear that if they can help out Spencer Knight, he's going to be able to stop pretty much everything. So if they can start finding pieces out on the trade market to bolster their scoring, they could really turn this around quick. I just can't believe how fast it's happened. But Bedard has taken a monstrous step this year. And even Nazar too, who everybody is like, I don't know about that contract. He's looked pretty damn good too. So it'll be really fascinating to see where this goes the rest of the way.
I'm very intrigued, and as much I'm not a Chicago fan, but I do love Spencer Knight, and I think, and I said this early on too when he got traded, that this was going to be the best thing for him, because he obviously he's proving it now. He deserves to be a starting goaltender, and that just was never going to happen for him in Florida. And it's not a dig at him at all, because he's talented enough. But when you've got future Hall of Famer Bobrovsky as your starter, it was never going to happen for him, at least not anytime soon. And you don't want his younger years to just rot away from him. Especially since like a few of his really younger years, he was out, he went through player assistance and all that stuff. So it's just really nice to see him thriving regardless of where he is, because I would say he's absolutely earned the spot he has.
Yeah. That's one of you're absolutely right. That's one of those things too, again, where you see these guys that go through the program, you like to see him come back and be effective. And not only has he been effective, I mean, he's just been outright incredible. I mean, if the season ended today, he'd probably be in the Vezina conversation. So there you go. I mean, this is a guy who's really turned his life around, and now his head is having a chance to, I don't want to say turn his career around, because he is still such a young guy, but now he's got a chance to really make his name and make his career here. I mean, this is really a good chance for this young kid to not only make a whole city proud, but to prove his worth to the league. So it's exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Well, what do you say we do a Blue Jackets corner?
Yeah. Well, they've been playing like they've been sitting in the corner. So
yeah, it's not been great. I'm not gonna lie. We talked last week's episode on the Blue Jackets corner. We talked that, again, they let a few tough games slip away from them. I mean, they finally got a win this week, but again, the shootout loss last night to the Rangers, that one stings too, especially with how well Jet played. It's not perfect right now. This is a team that's going to have to kind of claw their way to get back to where they were with that great start they had. The scoring, it needs to be a little better, definitely. I mean, Marchenko's the only guy over a point a game right now. But I have absolutely pumped the shit out of the tires on Adam Fantilli the last season and a half, and it's time for him to really get going here. He's still so young, but this is his time to take over and make this his team. When your team gets off to a hot start and it kind of fizzles out on you a little bit, this is that opportunity where a young guy steps up and kind of puts the team on his back and is like, let's get back into this fucking fight and let's make a name for ourselves here. I mean, I truthfully don't think that Philly should be ahead of them, and Philly we'll have to talk about eventually too, because they're starting to put the pieces together a little bit, I think. But I don't think Philly should be ahead of them. I don't think the Rangers are really better than them. But again, the Rangers just can't seem to lose on the road, which is funny. I think they're better. They should be better than the Islanders right now, and they're not. So there's some work to be done here. And I haven't watched enough of the Jackets games in the last probably probably week and a half that I can pinpoint exactly one thing wrong with this team. But the reality is, if you just look at the stats, I mean, the scoring's got to be there. They got to start putting pucks in the net. It's as simple as that. That's how you win the freaking game.
Yeah, and like the way they started the season off, we're like, all right, this is exactly what we were expecting this team to do and what we know they're capable of, and it's fallen off since. And you're like, okay, well, they addressed the goaltending issue. What happened? It's I mean, their goalie tandem right now is fine, in my opinion. Like, that should not be an issue. And honestly, there's no excuse for, like you said, the scoring isn't bad per se, but it's lackluster compared to what it should be. And in my eyes, there's really no valid excuse for it at this point. I mean, it's not like they're being plagued by injuries or anything like that. They've got all their big names. They're just not producing. And I think you brought up a good point with Fantilli too, where, yeah, he's still so young, but we've seen what he's capable of. We saw the season he had last year. So it's not like he doesn't have the ability to play to that level. It's just, he needs to step it up. But I mean, that's a team thing at this point too. It's not just Adam Fantilli. You have plenty of offensive weapons on that team. This is a team that shouldn't be struggling to score. If anything, I would say we should still be saying, yeah, the goaltending should still be stepping it up a little bit, but we're not. We're talking about scoring at this point. So,
well, they've lost 5 of their last 7, and here's the thing: that outside of their 2 games against the Oilers, they have yet to, in this last little stretch here, they have yet to score more than 3 goals. I mean, both games they played against the Oilers, they won 5-4 one of them and lost 5-4 in the other. So. Those are just both barn burner games. But again, the Oilers are another team who just have dog shit goaltending. So I would expect them to be filling in the net. But again, we go back and we talked about the games against the Canucks, the Flames, and the Islanders on the last show. But here's the goal totals they had in these last 7 games: 2-1-3, 4-1, 4-1. Or sorry, let me correct that. It's 2-1-3, 4-2-5. 1, and then again the one with 5 was against the Oilers, where it's like, yeah, you better be scoring against them. They suck. But even their win against Seattle the other night too, you score 2 goals, you barely eke out a win against a team that you are probably better than. So I'm and again, because I didn't see that game against Seattle, I wish I could have watched more of it. But the scoring just has to be better. This team is more than capable. The personnel's there. And I'm not saying they have to be Colorado, but you got to start. You have the talent. You've shown you can. You have to start scoring. They got to give these goaltenders some relief here. It just feels like, and again, they're not without fault. I mean, Jet and Elvis have had recently some games where I wasn't thrilled with their play, but it can't always be on them either. Yes, they are both capable of being good goalies, but it can't always be on them. You need to score.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I think everything, Blue Jackets fans included, I think everybody's kind of on the same page here. And, kudos to Columbus fans who continue to show up and show out for this team, regardless of performance. But, it's kind of just like they have the tools to be successful. It's a matter of utilizing them. And I'm just not seeing where the issue is right now. And I really, really don't want to point the finger at Dean Evison yet. I really don't.
No, I'm not even remotely in the neighborhood of doing that. I want to know what the answer is here, and I don't. And you know what? Here's the thing about that. I sit here and question this and make judgments and all that. The reality is, it's not my responsibility. It's not your responsibility to figure out. It is the responsibility of this team to every man in that room to figure out who the hell is going to start scoring, because this is going to get away. I mean, it's been a problem now for 2 weeks in a row. This is going to get away from them if they keep fucking around like this.
Well, and one thing I'm interested to see too, this will come later in the season, and who knows, maybe the Jackets are going to turn it on. We just don't know yet. But if this continues, I'm very interested to hear what Rims has to say when we have him back on the show later this season. Because I'd really like to hear some insight from him regarding CBJ right now.
Speaking of CBJ, though, we are going to the game the night before Thanksgiving.
We are, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Again, regardless of how they perform, I'm very excited for that. I love going down there for games.
Yeah, it should be a good time. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an NHL fan, get yourself to Columbus for a game, even if it's to see your team play there. It's a great place to watch hockey.
By the way, you want to talk about a big karma opportunity coming pretty soon? We opened the show dumping on Toronto, and the game
Yeah.
we're going to is against Toronto. So I see a Nylander 4-goal game in our near future, which scares me. But seriously, all things considered, yeah, the bottom line is the scoring's got to get up. And again, the goaltending's got to get a little better, but we will closely track this over the next couple of weeks, because we're getting close to and soon passing the quarter mark of the season. We got to know what the hell this team's identity is, and they got to figure out what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Andrew, before we go, you told me before we started, actually, you had a question. Somebody we know personally wrote into the show, and let's hear what they have to say.
It's not actually a question. He just wrote in to give his 2 cents. Comes from a friend of ours. It goes by the name Billy Beach. So we know him simply as Bill. But he is a Blackhawks fan. So he writes in, and he writes, Chicago Blackhawks. Been rather surprised by this team this year. Improvements in most areas of play, back checking, forechecking, faceoffs, defensive organization, and superior goaltending that have kept them in most of these games. It's obvious that Bedard worked in the offseason and stepped up his game.
Oh, yeah.
Bertuzzi stepping up and providing some much needed net presence. Plenty of speed with their youth. Literally all the teams they face have the better play in puck handling and tape-to-tape passing. This is where Chicago needs to improve. Maybe get another player in front of the net to take the opposing goalie's eyes away. Still fun to watch. Keep up the great work, fellas. I enjoy your show, Billy.
Well, it's good. First of all, it's good to hear from him. I don't think, God, it's been almost, well, I moved last year, so it's been probably, I think, 2 or so years since I've spoken to him. So good to hear from you, Bill. Thanks for listening too. Yeah, to your point, he's absolutely right. And it's something we see if you pay close enough attention to any team that's like this, but teams with young players, that's often the biggest issue they face. The overall individual skill is never an issue. And because we're talking about Chicago, we'll use them for this example. You look at a player like Bedard, you look at a player like Nazar, even Bertuzzi, again, who's having a pretty good year for them. Individually, these guys are more than capable of being good hockey players, but the biggest issue young teams especially run into, and this is why it's so important that you have vets on your team to teach this stuff, but chemistry is a big thing. You talk about you need to have those crisp tape-to-tape passes. You need to be able to make clean passes, not letting pucks roll off your stick or bounce over your stick. Building team chemistry is so important, and teams with young star players like this, it's one of the last, I don't want to say one of the last things they learn, but it's one of the hardest things for them to get down pat. And when we talk about teams, and we've talked about this specifically with Chicago, it is so important that you bring in guys into your organization who have been around a while, even if they're not the best players, because you need to teach your young guys how to be pros. And part of that is, again, they need to learn how to develop chemistry with line mates and be able to be put into spots where they're playing with somebody different, maybe one night or 2 games in a row or something. And it's all about learning how to play with the guy that's on the line with you at that time. And I think Chicago, for everything they've done right, I think this will be something that comes naturally over time. I mean, you look at the Taves and Kane era. Yeah, they were both incredible players right out of the gate, but it took a while. I don't want to say it took a while, because they won the Stanley Cup after about 4 seasons together. But it takes a little bit of time to build that chemistry. And I think at this point, Bill, I think at this point, Chicago is clearly shown, like you said, first of all, Bedard has done some work to make himself better this offseason. But I think they're going to start getting to this point now where these guys are playing together every night and they're not just shuffling lines to see what works. These guys are going to start to build that chemistry. And that's kind of how you come out of these rebuilds, is you have this young talent this whole time, but now they're starting to gel and they're starting to figure it out. And for the rest of the league, that's the first sign of, oh shit, here they come. But as a fan of that team yourself and other fans of the Blackhawks, that's where you start to notice, like, okay, now these guys are going to start coming into their own and being a good team. So yes, while right now that chemistry isn't there, I think we're not far away from it, because to me, with how Chicago's played this season, it seems like they've ticked off every other box. They've got the skating down. Their special teams are starting to get better. Their goaltending is getting better. Their star players individually are developing into really outstanding players. So all they've got now is they just got to find that chemistry. And I think they'll have put this puzzle together.
Yeah. And, it's,
go ahead.
I would say it's worth pointing out that Tyler Bertuzzi's out right now. And I mean, again, that's not the end of the world, but it's definitely a guy, especially with the way he's been playing. He's a guy you want to get back. And, they're out with Foligno's out right now too. And I think he's actually, let me look. Yeah, he's week to week right now with a hand injury. So, I mean, and not that Nick Foligno's this elite hockey player, but he is their captain and he is the textbook definition of leadership. So, I mean, that does take a toll on the team in one way or another. So, I mean, these are guys that they want to get back. And again, like you said, this chemistry is on its way. The morale is definitely up this year in Chicago, and nobody can dispute that. It shows, you can see it on the look in players' eyes. This is a different team than what we saw last year, and in all the best ways possible. So I think, Bill, you bring up a great point. I think everybody put in work this offseason, and it's showing right now. And I think if they continue to do this, we're going to be talking about the Hawks come April. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So again, just to circle back, they're good. And there are going to be nights though, even still, again, no pun intended with Chicago. There's going to be nights with Chicago where they just look like they're completely lost. And that's okay. Again, they're still growing, but you're going to, I think you're going to slowly start to see that development of the chemistry where now every pass is tape to tape, the puck's landing on their sticks, nothing's bouncing around them, over them, under them, whatever. I think we're not far away from that, but in San Jose's kind of in a similar situation too. I mean, you look at how good Celebrini and Smith are. Now, those two specifically, it feels like they could thread a needle in the dark, like they're that accurate with some of their plays. But there's still a lot of times where they look kind of lost, and that happens with young teams, and Chicago's is no different in that regard. But I think they're really not as far away as we might have thought they were from being an absolute powerhouse again. So, Bill, thanks again for writing into the show. It was really good to hear from you and hear your name again.
Yeah, I second that. I appreciate you listening and being such an avid follower of the show, and I'm extremely grateful for you writing in. So thank you.
All right. Well, I actually wanted to talk about the scoring race this week, but next week's show will have, I think everybody will have pretty much reached the quarter mark of the season. So I think next week we'll talk about the scoring race and I don't want to call it the goaltending race. It's kind of a weird phrasing, but you know what I'm getting at. So I think next week we'll do that amongst a few other things we'll talk about on next week's show. And of course, next week's Blue Jackets Corner will kind of set up us going to this game and kind of see where the team's at. Hopefully this week, we play a couple games this week and play tomorrow night against the Canadians, and that's at home. So that's hopefully, again, home game against a hot Habs team. That's one that's a big momentum builder if they can grab that. So we'll see how they do. As for this show, we will, of course, be back next Sunday to record. And so you'll either hear us next Sunday night or next Monday morning or whenever the hell you feel like listening. So as always, thank all of you so much for tuning in. Andrew, do you have anything else to say before we go?
Just make sure you follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast, and on TikTok at Fresh Ice Pod.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.